Aquarius, your love card for 2025 is the Chariot. So you may have your sights set on a particular person, or you and a love partner may be working on a specific goal. Now, the downside is that relationship can sometimes take a back seat, especially if you have this all-consuming need for self-fulfillment when you focus on goals that are to the exclusion of everything else. If you're trying to grow your career, you may not have a lot of time to give, so advancement in one area may lead to a setback in another if you're not careful. If you look at the card, it seems as if one of the figures could possibly asking the other not to go, but probably that decision has already been made. More positively, maybe she's cheering him on. She's offering her support for what he feels he must do. But if you're in a relationship that has grown a little bit stale and boring, you may need to break away from the usual routine or the familiar surroundings to take some time out together. It could be that the pressures of business make you insensitive to the needs of your partner. Maybe you need to reestablish the connection by taking a vacation, going on a getaway, even just a long drive together. It's important that you leave your career concerns at the office and that you don't bring home frustrations that cause you to be aggressive or overly demanding. In fact, this is a year where your attitude, your moods, your views, they have a strong influence on a potential partner or your mate, and more so than you might even realize. You may need to stay focused and not lose sight of your goals, but you shouldn't cut off your personal life. You have to find a way to bridge that gap between work and home, the personal and the professional. You might also have to reconcile differences and the tendency to view matters as strictly black and white without considering the gray areas of a situation. Maybe you're struggling with different beliefs that are at odds with your partner or with even within yourself. Could be desires that pull you in different directions. And speaking of black and white, some of you, maybe you're working through differences in culture, coming to terms with what it means to be in an interracial relationship. Or maybe you're weighing the pros and cons of a potential partner or of the relationship. It can be that given outer circumstances or matters pertaining to partnership, that you have to revise your personal and professional schedule or your financial budget, or you have to come up with strategies to get ahead. It's a year that will test your patience because of some delays, some miscommunication, and just unexpected events that feel annoying and may prompt the need for you to deal with the shadow side of yourself or a partner, because some situations will tend to bring out strong emotions, including anger. And either of you could be moody, overprotective, and sometimes irritable. If you have a partner, this is a year for working together as a team. And that means at times, given a partner's strengths, you give up the reins of control and you let them take the lead. And in areas where you're better suited, they become the follower. Maybe you have shared goals that you're navigating together. Maybe you want to buy a car, or you want to relocate, or take an important trip, or some other major purchase. And if you're single, this can be the year when an unusual circumstance links to romance and adventure. But the caution here is against impulsiveness, recklessness, and running ramshod over your partner to get what you want or allowing them to do the same. But it can also be about having a single-minded focus on someone in the belief that only this person can make you happy or only this person can give your life meaning. If you find yourself going down that path, it probably means you have some confidence or self-esteem issues to work out, and you're putting too much effort in another person to validate your existence. If you happen to make a miscalculation, you may find yourself in a situation that's spinning out of control or beyond your control, and it probably won't turn out the way you want it to. In the positive, this is a year where you're about to enter a new phase in matters of relationship, one that opens your eyes in some way or broadens your horizons. The key is to pay attention and have the courage to move toward it. Now, the rapport you have with a partner will be a healing influence, or the emphasis is on healing your relationship or healing yourself to get over a relationship. For some of you, the focus connects to issues related to children, someone from your childhood, perhaps dating someone younger, or the desire to start something new. Alternatively, one of you may have some health concerns. This is also a partnership where one or both of you requires a lot of attention, or one of you has a magnetic aura that seems to attract a lot of interested parties. If you're single, you could easily have an admirer or someone interested that pops up out of nowhere and takes you down some roads that you're not accustomed to traveling. In some cases, you rekindle an old romance, or the current relationship takes on a more exciting focus. So the right person could be someone that you have recently met, or, at some point during the year. But you know exactly what you want, and the Chariot card says you are willing to go after it. Now, the best rapport you can have is a balance between devotion and independence. However, that need to be the center of attention can mean that at times, maybe you're a little bit domineering or a bit overbearing, or your partner is. So there can be this penchant for extremism, for risk-taking, and possibly attracting the wrong kind of suitor. You will also need a lot of mental stimulation in your relationship, and communication is key. It's a year where you have to make important decisions in love to find solutions, either to move forward or to move on from situations. And some of the obstacles to love and affection you face may link to perhaps financial difficulties or lack of intimacy, single parenthood, getting over a separation, or maybe addressing some health challenges. It may be that at times you don't know where this relationship is headed. It seems to be aimless, a lack of direction to it. And you have to find solutions to get it back on track or on the path that, where you're trying to go. Sometimes you can appear to be inhibited or unapproachable, cold, or distant. And so you have to find ways to exude that warmth and understanding that is just beneath the surface of that persona. The one where, you may have this sort of wall where you're trying to protect yourself from the pain and the sorrow that you've experienced. But spirited discussions will tend to draw you out of that shell. Still, even if you don't communicate openly, there's an intuitive link that binds you with another person, but you still have to work at the relationship if you want it to succeed. On the other hand, you'll probably be very firm in your expectations, and you're going to make it very clear what you find acceptable and what you don't. As far as physical attraction and intimacy, we get back to this theme of being overly protective or overly cautious or detached in some way. There's this sort of survivor mode that you're in. Maybe you've been through a lot and you really feel like you have to protect yourself. And so this is a year of healing and, tending to self, and it's important that you do that before you try to, get a relationship started. You have to address where you may have been neglecting certain things that undermine you in some way, emotionally, physically. So it's time to look at the inner and the outer condition of your health, your psyche, your physical health, maybe where you've been neglecting your appearance in some way, possibly because, you just have been so absorbed in your own pain or concerns. So for some of you, you've been waiting in vain for some kind of change. It could be greater intimacy within the relationship, or, there's nothing going on. You haven't been dating, you haven't been connecting. And so you're waiting for some kind of change. But you are very determined. And it could be that part of that stubbornness, the fear, or selfishness in your relationship with another person turns the bedroom into a battleground. So that inner resistance that helps you deal with the challenges of the outside world may also be the very same energy that shuts you down emotionally in intimate situations. So the armor you've put around your heart means that maybe you feel a little bit threatened by anybody that tries to get too close. So this is a year where, if that's the case, you need to learn how to open yourself up to another person, to allow them to help you deal with your demons, or allow them to help you heal. And together, maybe you can get past some old wounds and form a bond that can't be undermined, either from within or from without. So if you're looking for change, your relationship suffers when you insist on holding on to negative patterns. Maybe, you rebuff overtures at intimacy or change or compromise. And so inevitably, being inflexible leads to frustration and unhappiness for the both of you. So you may feel a little bit stagnated. Maybe you've hit an impasse as far as physical connection. So you have to do some greater work on yourself and, close out any outside forces that are impacting your relationship. So this is a year to talk with your partner, to, arrive at some honesty and some openness, again, for that healing energy influence, and in order to get closer. Now, where you will have shared values with a partner or potential partner is that you are very patient. Both of you may be waiting, taking your time to move forward, to heal, to improve situations, or maybe you have shared goals where you want to attain something, some kind of success, or perhaps, you're willing to put in the effort to get the kind of recognition you feel you deserve. So you may share that similarity with another person's, that patience. You both are willing to take a second look at, where you're investing your energy and whether that's paying off. And that can be emotionally, financially. You look at your aspirations and both of you come up with an honest appraisal of what your true needs are, what your true desires are. So for some of you, you share this ability to change direction and move into a new arena, something completely new and different. And both of you may rely on your hunches, your impulses, or just the synchronicity of what happens around you as the cue. Now, for some of you, maybe you meet somebody and they unexpectedly provide some kind of awareness or perspective, and you may not even have been looking for that. For some of you, this is a year where your rapport with another person starts as a platonic friendship, and unexpectedly, maybe it changes into something much more intimate, or maybe this is a relatively new romance that has been developing slowly, and then it suddenly takes a serious turn. So for some of you, you will have the attainment of something, an existing union that was kind of floundering. It'll turn around as long as you're putting in some work. Maybe you, again, take that examination of what needs to be improved, where it's been failing. So maybe you have to be more persistent in your effort to meet new people if you're single, to develop that rapport with another person. And If you put yourself in a social situation, it could be that the very person you've been waiting for shows up. So you may be connecting to like-minded individuals and participating in discussions, and you may experience some kind of improvement. So you will connect with someone where you share the same values. You look at what is worthy of time, energy, emotion, effort. And you're looking at what has value, what gives a return. And maybe if you don't share the same value, you're willing to put aside something. You don't want to waste energy or put too much time in something that's really not going anywhere. Now, here's the problem where there can be areas of conflict, and it can go in one of two directions. There could be a connection you have with someone from the past, and maybe there's some veiled attempts at connecting, either on your part or the other person's part. So, social invitations, an offer of love, some kind of, overture of some sort. Maybe that past has an influence on your decision to connect. You may feel like this is somebody that you knew in a past life, or they're just very familiar. Maybe you have a past history with them, or perhaps you have some unfinished business between you. The other end of the spectrum is that there's a history of connecting perhaps to someone that looks very appealing, but all the cards are not out on the table. There is maybe breadcrumbing or some kind of misleading element. So for some of you, an area of contention will be connecting with somebody who is very romantic. They understand emotion. They know how to court a person. And you're counting on a future. And although this person is very affectionate, they're loving, they're fun, they make a lot of promises, but they're short on commitment. So for some of you, maybe you have waited so long for Mr. or Mrs. Right, and you finally think that you found them. But the problem is this person may not necessarily be the marrying kind, or they may not be committed. And, you may have this feeling that, as many people do, that they're going to make a change, that they're going to be the person that changes this person into becoming their ideal. And you may feel you're going to get this person to settle down. But this is somebody who is a wanderer, they're a dreamer, and he may go off in search of what his ideal is, and it may not be you. So for some of you, you may be dealing with someone who is like a Peter Pan, or they don't want to grow up. Or it could be you, where you're caught up in a fantasy and real life is passing you by while you just fantasize or meditate or gravitate toward the past. So it can be a real problem for you to connect with somebody that has strong personal appeal. A lot of people are interested in this person, and they come on the scene, they've got new ideas, they're outgoing, they win you over, you have a lot of fun, you enjoy the beautiful things in life. But it doesn't take you long to discover that when this person is bored or distracted, or they're fearful of long-term emotional commitment. Again, it could also be you. Somebody wants you to be responsible. They want you to, pull the line. They want you to grow up, and they can't talk you into being accountable. If that's the case, it may be difficult to talk your way out of a mistake. Or, maybe you try to be charming. Maybe you're trying to impress someone and they're just not buying. Some of you may get involved with somebody and it seems to be going well, and then suddenly it just falls apart and you don't really know why. There's no reasonable explanation. So for some of you, something that looks promising somehow falls through the cracks, or there's an issue here where you or your partner are not being completely honest with each other. And so for some of you, the source of contention is that there are a lot of promises, but there's not any real sincerity, or there's not any real depth. And, you're tempted towards some kind of false security in the relationship. So this is a year where you're very focused. You're looking for movement in situations. Together with a partner, you can achieve important goals through teamwork, and you can heal yourself and your relationship by being mindful of what is the priority for both of you. And if you're single, you can meet someone through travel or a twist that brings romance and adventure. But it can also be an emotional year of conflict where winning becomes everything in the worst way that leads to insensitivity toward your partner's concerns. You'll have to put in effort in overcoming the habit of being aloof and detached, or dominating and aggressive. Here's your sneak peek for the year in love.